fans in this area well aware of the fact that a young man from down in neighboring Milwaukee, a very impressive athlete in the Olympics, I'm talking about Laurent Soucy, Bobby Heenan. You've got a big smile on your face tonight.
Impressive in the Olympics. Who cares about watching a bunch of children wrestle? Who cares about the Olympics? Oh, it's a great thing for the country, but who cares about Laurent the Sissy? That's his name?
Laurent Soucy.
Can you imagine? 9 months they had to come up with another name, and that's the best they could do. Laurent. That's the most important thing they could come up with in 9 months. Shows you the mentality of his parents. Of course, he went to the University of Wisconsin, right?
In Madison.
Don't take a whole lot to get in there. I guess you have to be able to, the entrance exam, you have to be able to write your name in 3 different colors of crayon. I could care less your wrestling ability. I could care about your amateur background. You're in the ring now with a professional. I'm going to go behind that man so much he's going to think he's stuck in a revolving door. I'm going to take him down, take him around, show him the town. I'm going to reverse neck snap his neck. I'm going to dislocate both his shoulders. Then I might just paintbrush until my hands are swollen shut. But another good news for you and everybody else. I have signed. I went to Japan in July. I was there the whole month.
Aware of that.
I'm not aware of what you're aware of. I'm aware of my business. I went to Japan in July and I signed the most lucrative contract for Nick Bockwinkel in the history of professional wrestling for any world champion. He's going to defend his title in Germany, and he's going to defend his title in Japan, and I pulled it off. That's why I'm Manager of the Year 4 times in a row. And high flyers, you can run, but there's no place to hide. You're running now like rats. The water level's coming up to your bellies, and you got no place to hide.
That was the late, great Bobby Heenan, who I am a really, really big fan of, and I think everyone sitting at this table right here, no matter the age of all of us, we're really big fans. Just quickly, before we get into the show, to me, losing him this past week was very big and very detrimental to me as a wrestling fan, because in my opinion, and I'm sure with the difference of ages and whatnot, people's opinions will vary, but for me, he was the best manager of all time. For me, from my childhood, the way I grew up, and I know people throw Paul Heyman in there all the time, and I'd say Paul's a very close number 2, but for me, for the era I grew up in, the 80s and 90s, really being a wrestling fan, Bobby Heenan was the guy. And when he wasn't out there managing, he was on commentary with, again, to me, the best commentary team of all time, Gorilla and The Brain. And I just, when I got the news, I honestly, it's one of the deaths that hit me hard. They don't all hit me hard, but they all hit us as fans. But this one took its toll on me because it basically took a shot at my childhood. And for me, it was a big one. Luckily enough, I got to meet Bobby in 2014 at WrestleMania 30. It was a bucket list item for me. It was something that I'll never forget in the rest of my life. And as I'm sitting here trying to do this podcast, I got tears coming to my eyes because this dude meant the world to me as a kid. I thought he was just so awesome and so amazing. And so I doubt anyone out there who has any connection to him whatsoever will ever hear this. But if you do, he was loved by so many different generations and so many fans. And when he was going through his sickness, he was still loved. He was still appreciated. And he will always be remembered. And that's what I have to say on it. But I'll let the guys say their piece.
And Bobby the Brain Heenan for me, and just going back I wasn't around in that era, but going back on the WCW network and WWE network and rewatching all the old matches and just listening to him on commentary, it was just artwork. It was magical every time that he was on commentary, and just you heard so much, and you just learn so much from the man just listening to him talk on the commentary of the wrestling ring. You just learn so much more about the business. Better than what you hear right now with Michael Cole and Booker T and Corey Graves. I love Corey Graves, but Gorilla and Brain on the commentary will always be the best commentary team besides JR and King.
You know, even if you're not a fan or haven't seen Bobby Heenan, or if you're a fan of wrestling, you know who he is, you know what he does, and that's just how great Bobby Heenan was. I personally never really got into Bobby Heenan because I've never really watched him. Over time of watching wrestling, listening to promos, and it's insane how much of an impact he has on the sport of professional wrestling.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older than most of the guys on the podcast, so I remember seeing Heenan, on TV, when my grandpa got me into wrestling back when I was a wee young man, knee-high to a duck. But, ironically, his name really just fit him, Bobby the Brain, because, anybody else flapping their gums up there, I didn't see anybody else that was more quick-witted or, knew what to say, like, right off the cusp. And he really reminded me of Robin Williams, to be honest, because he had so much depth to play whatever he needed to play. Bad guy, good guy. That time he was outside the arena playing all these different characters to get back inside. I'm sure everybody remembers that.
Yes.
But yeah, man, that's all I really gotta say. I wish the best for him and I wish the best for his family. I know they're going through a tough time. So.
For me, Bobby the Brain Heenan has been in my life for a long time. I mean, I was born in 1995, and that was past his prime. But I remember my father in 1996 at Bash of the Beach was watching Hogan turn heel, and as Hogan was coming down the ramp, Bobby Heenan was saying something along the lines of, "Don't trust Hulk Hogan. Don't trust Hulk Hogan." And then when Hogan turned, did the leg drop on Savage, Bobby the Brain Heenan, he was like, "I told everyone since the beginning. Since 1984, 85, 86, I've told everyone since the beginning not to ever trust Hulk Hogan." And that's how amazing Bobby the Brain Heenan was, because he used past things that happened in the WWF and implemented it into WCW. And he had a huge impact on professional wrestling as a whole. Personally, he's not my favorite, but he is probably the greatest of all time. I mean, genuinely. Nobody looks up to anyone else like they look up to Bobby the Brain Heenan in pro wrestling.
I agree. Before we go on, well, we'll end with that, but before we get on with the podcast, we would like to make a few announcements. That is, today, we are expecting AR Fox, but as some of you may know or may not know, when this was filmed Sunday, the 24th of September, Fox is actually main eventing in Massachusetts for Beyond Wrestling. He is taking on Joey Janela. We have reached out to him, and he has reached out to us, and he is going very much so to try and make the show. It will be the tail end of our recording, and so whether that happens or not at this time, we don't know. You may hear it at the end, you may not. We are trying our best, and if it doesn't happen today, it will happen another time. He very much so wants to be on with us, so one way or another that'll happen. Moving forward, this week we have brand new equipment. We have a lot of new things going on, new additions to the podcast, new segments. Might even be taking some segments away after today. We have also decided that we are going to move on from being a bi-weekly show to a weekly show. So instead of hearing us every other week, you will now hear us every week. Yeah, I know it's kind of sad, huh? But seriously, AR Fox, possibly today, and if not, we have a little surprise for you guys. I'm not going to say his name, but somebody's going to be here if AR Fox can be. And next week, actually, something I'm really looking forward to, I know Avery is really looking forward to, is Session Moth Martina from Progress Wrestling. Ow! She's from Fight Club Pro also. She's from Ireland. She fights, I'm not going to say wrestles, she fights all over Europe. She does things in Germany as well. That's next week. With the time difference, we were able to work something out, so I'm really, really looking forward to that. One way or another, that interview is going to happen. So going forward, we're chugging along. We're doing the best we can for you guys. We're improving weekly. We see holes in the podcast every week, and every week we try to fix them. We went out We have brand new equipment, lots of really awesome technology. So hopefully it shows on this podcast. We're also going to start doing a live podcast feed after our show is done recording the audio version. And this isn't going to be every week, but it will be every few weeks, depending on the time and the guest we have in the building. That way we can give those on Facebook, Twitter, and whatnot, a live looking at what we're doing, but also make sure the audio is crisp for the people who are just downloading to listen to us and not actually watch us because they don't want to see our ugly faces. So
Speak for yourself, buddy.
That's why I wear a mask.
So that's where we're at.
That's what she said.
Moving. Well then, moving forward, here we go.
So right now we're going to head on to the spot of the week. Spot of the week goes to Fight Club Pro. There was a six-man tag that took place between Pete Dunne, Trent Seven, and Tyler Bates versus Sami Callihan, Dave, and Jake Christ. The match was incredible. And the reason that it's my spot of the week is because it's a dream match that us five, have been wanting to see for a long time. It's too bad it didn't happen close to us because we would have went. And one part of the match, Tyler Bates gets on the top rope and he does a taunt. Jake's across the way. Tyler Bates jumps. Jake catches him into a cutter. That's the most insane cutter I've ever seen since Dave Christ's cutter off the wall and beyond. That's my spot of the week.
I mean, how do you follow that? Great spot of the week. Now, my spot of the week is PWG, and they have the preview up for the Stage 3 Bola, which every year is just like a cream dream to steal from a certain friend to my left. That you just can't pass up, and I want to highlight it. It's going to be up on the website soon, so visit PWG, get Bola, and definitely watch it because you can't go wrong. That's my spot of the week, Damien.
I want to mention two guys, Trey Miguel, Myron Reed. 2 Fridays ago, Rockstar Pro Wrestling in Dayton, Ohio had a Lucha Comes to Dayton wrestling show, and those two went back to Mexico that very night with some of the Chilinga masked wrestlers, and Trey Miguel had his first international world heavyweight title defense.
Yes.
And I want to give big shout out and ups to those dudes because this is like their second or third time going to Mexico, and I want to see them everywhere, man. They deserve it. And side note to Mexico, I want to give my condolences and my thoughts to the people in Mexico City. There was an earthquake that happened in Mexico, and I hope everyone is doing okay.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure that. My spot of the week is I'm going to take from Chapter 55 that just aired on Progress Network. Travis Banks defeated Pete Dunne for the Progress World Heavyweight Championship, and I gotta say that match was just unbelievable. Like, they fucking broke the rope. The middle rope. The whole fucking middle rope broke, and
That's dangerous.
sledgehammers everywhere. It was...
So they did a tribute to Hunter, kind of like Triple H.
Yeah, basically, Pete
badass.
Dunne and Trent Seven and
That's awesome.
Travis.
Unrelated topic. I
Yeah,
broke a condom last night.
but
That's great.
that match just wasn't really appealing to me this week, and it was just an amazing match.
My spot of the week isn't really a spot of the week at all, and I was very, I was very much prepared, and I was going to sit here and I was going to talk about Project Mayhem, the whole event, which is what Jordan talked about with the 6-man. But what I really want to say is just like, I don't think it gets said enough. So my spot of the week is just going to be, and this is part of our debate also, is international pro wrestling. Damien hit on it, Jordan hit on it. Like, this is just, and I think everyone hit on it actually, is like wrestlers moving over like oceans, like crossing oceans, like going to different countries. Like, it is incredible to me. And 5 years ago this was happening, sure, but it wasn't happening to the guys that we see on a regular basis. And I'm not just saying this because we consider these people like acquaintances or friends or family or whatever it is. Even people that we don't consider, it's just like, to me, it's amazing to see guys like CCK win CZW titles. Like, these guys are from Europe and they're winning titles from a promotion in America. To me, that's awesome because they're not huge. They're not like a huge name. Should they be? Yes, but they're not. I'm not going to make this go long. I just think it's awesome. Project Mayhem, Fight Club Pro, and the Wrestling Revolver was a great show. Progress was a great show. Bola last week, a phenomenal show, and we see this happening every week or every couple weeks. You have 10 to 15 great guys from one country going to see guys from another country. Project Mayhem had guys from Japan, guys from the States, guys from Europe, all on the same thing, and it was just incredible. And our boys, Trey and Myron, being in Mexico, and I've been following them on Snapchat, and following that journey is amazing. I just think pro wrestling right now is maybe the best it's ever been, and I know 2016 was a very big year for pro wrestling. I think 2017 has topped it, and if we keep going where we're going, then we're going to keep saying the same thing year after year after year.
Ladies and gentlemen, time it is. This is the 10 Topic Showdown, where we take news articles, things that happen in pro wrestling, things that we want to highlight and talk about, and put it all into one big segment, 10 Topic Showdown. Jordan.
Basically, what I'm going to start out with is Teddy Hart's comeback. I mean, he gets a lot of scrutiny from fans and wrestlers alike about his past demons and things that he went through. But recently, Limitless Wrestling in Maine, he went up against MJF and earned the respect of MJF. The night before, he actually wrestled JT Dunn. Mm-hmm. And Teddy Hart's comeback to me is special because this is someone that I've been watching for a long time. He kind of went off the deep end, but now he's starting to reemerge as a big, real player in professional wrestling on the independent scene. Now, what I'm going to go on to is another one of my topics is going to be the Ring of Honor pay-per-view that just took place, Death Before Dishonor. The whole show was amazing. I know Bully Ray got hurt during the show and was taken to the ER, and Tommy Dreamer was there with him. Jay Lethal and Silas Young had a last man standing match. It was absolutely unbelievable because Jay Lethal was strapped to the ladder and was pushed off the ladder through a table and didn't have his arms to kind of stop himself or kind of make his fall real safer for him. And overall, the pay-per-view was just amazing. I'm not going to talk about the main event because I want to let Doc talk about the main event.
You can talk about the main event, brother.
Oh, that's fine. Cody Rhodes faced Minoru Suzuki, who has not been in the United States for 25 years and has not competed in this country for a long time. They killed it. They had an amazing, amazing match, and Minoru Suzuki got a standing ovation. He was playing with Cody Rhodes. He was, kind of laughing. It was a real good time, and then the match started really getting into it. And Cody Rhodes showed why he's one of the best in the world.
Yeah, definitely. Which kind of leads into one of my topics, and Cody Rhodes has signed with Ring of Honor. I mean, obviously, that's probably not big news. Everybody knows this by now. But he was on Talk is Jericho talking about it. He was also talking about, signing with Ring of Honor, how the independent scene has been a brand new thing to him because he, in the interview, said with Jericho that he is a product of WWE. He has known no other wrestling business besides the big time. And he talks about it, and he talks about being new to the independent scene and the independent scene kind of just treating him like, okay, he's WWE royalty basically. He also talks in that podcast about not being able to use his last name Rhodes, where he kind of just goes by just Cody now.
That sucks.
Which does suck. And he has talked about, I don't want to be the first one to go up to WWE and be like, hey, can I use my name? He talks about that in the interview with Chris Jericho, which is really interesting. It's on YouTube if you guys haven't checked it out. My second topic would be Paige from WWE. So she's back in the Performance Center. It's confirmed on WWE.com. I know she's been drama for a long time.
To say the least.
To say the least. A lot of controversy. I'm actually kind of shocked that she's coming back.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably a good business move because, with all the drama that she does have, it's pro wrestling. Who doesn't like drama? So she's back. She's in the Performance Center. I know that she's quoted that, she wants to take back her house, which at this point, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Bad, Damien.
Yeah, I didn't expect her coming back at all. But I want to get into a little bit of business with Dramatic Dream Team Professional Wrestling. Is located in Japan. I seen on Twitter that they have been sold to a company worth more than New Japan Pro Wrestling. This company is called Cyber Agent.
Wow.
And their net worth is apparently 7,203 million yen. And I think I'm pronouncing this right, but Bushy Road's net worth is 900 million yen.
That's crazy.
It's kind of crazy. I've followed Dramatic Dream Team for a while. Dave Christ has been there. I'm pretty sure Jake was there with him along Irie.
And there's just
those guys have actually. I'm curious to what they're gonna do with teaming up with Big Japan Pro Wrestling as they have in the past.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for this new thing because they are not an independent company anymore.
I hope
in
they can
Japan.
compete with New Japan.
I hope.
Yeah.
That's the dream, no pun intended.
Yeah.
My topics here. I'm gonna go over Progress Chapter 55. Spoiler alerts if you guys haven't watched it yet. It's on demand Progress, so you guys can look it up there. We're going to jump in. The first match was a tag team ladder match, CCK versus British Strong Style. CCK ended up picking up the victory and becoming the new Progress Tag Team Champions, which, believe me, that was an incredible tag team match, ladder match at that. Then you go into the second match. It was Toni Storm defeated Dahlia Black with 2 strong zeros, which is her version of a pile driver. And it was amazing. Then you had Zack Sabre Jr. Had a open challenge shutout, and who accepted it was Marty Scurll. So that was an amazing match to hear. And then you had a death match with Jimmy Havoc defeating Mark Hawkins.
Wow.
Which to me, Mark Hawkins Haskins, my bad, showed that he's nothing to fuck with when it comes with Jimmy Havoc. I mean,
no relation to Kurt Hawkins. I mean, Haskins.
Then you had Walter with the upset beat Matt Riddle for the Atlas Championship.
I was surprised with that, man.
That was an amazing match. He also did beat Timothy Thatcher as well. He was also in that match. It was an amazing match.
So it was a 3-way.
It was a triple threat. It was an amazing match. And then Mark Andrews, the first ever Progress champion, won an 8-man battle royal elimination to win a number 1 contendership for the Progress champion. Wow. So he is now a number 1 contender for the Progress.
Was it over the top or was it pins?
It was first pinfall wins. So,
no kidding.
Yeah, he ended up beating Flash Morgan Webster. And
dude.
And then,
awesome.
If you guys know, he's in a tag team called FSU. His former partner actually attacked him after the match, so they're no longer.
So they're not a team.
They're no longer a team. Then you go into my spot of the week, which was Travis Banks versus Pete Dunne, and that match already said, unbelievable. And then the next topic, and I think we're all going to jump into, is No Mercy predictions. That is tonight, airing on September 24th.
The WWE Network, $9.99.
Gotta put that spot in there.
Plug, bro.
So
you said we weren't gonna plug that. God.
So who do y'all think is gonna take the tag team or the heavyweight title?
I'll say this: the heavyweight championship, Braun Strowman, I think, is gonna win. But in my opinion, I want to talk about Jason Jordan and The Miz. I think The Miz this past 6 months or so has been epic on the mic.
Yep.
Epic talking. He's the best talker in professional wrestling when it comes to WWE programming right now, I think. Jason Jordan, I'm excited to see what he can do right now as a singles competitor, and I'm curious as to if Kurt Angle's going to get involved. Maybe. Because of what Miz said to Kurt Angle, on Raw, kind of taking those shots. Miz makes it look real. That's what I love about wrestling.
Just to add on to your thing, also, we all pay attention. The Miz actually is now ranked number 3 as the best Intercontinental Champion.
Pretty much, yeah.
Of all damn time.
He's been chipping away, man. He really has. There was a time there where I was like, garbage, don't want to listen to him. But
Now he's a workhorse.
that promo he cut on Enzo, I was like, wow.
Yes.
I was like, hot fire.
Yeah.
My name is Dylan. I spits hot fire. I was like, whoa.
I was just about to mention, like many people like Enzo Amore, but he got fucking roasted, dude.
Dude, he got
Like,
real.
He got killed, and I'm not that big of a Miz fan, but this dude, as of late, has
Well, you know,
blown me
man.
away.
Well, like speaking of him, Enzo, I'm really surprised that they put him up against Neville. I mean, I think Neville's gonna like dominate and win.
Yeah.
I just love how Enzo's in the cruiserweight division. We talked about it
He's
a little
gotta
bit
be
last
somewhere.
week. I mean, it's good, but like what I want to say is that we're bringing up the fire promos. John Cena burning Roman
Oh,
Reigns
dude.
with the
That's
countless
another one,
promos that is just being.
I'll say this: it made me excited, like in 2004, 2005, John Cena. when I
Dr.
was
Thuganomics, John Cena.
Yeah.
But, is anyone excited for Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt though?
I'm kind of burnt out with Bray Wyatt.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
burned
Never
out.
Finn
See,
Balor. Never
yeah,
Finn Balor.
and that's kind of where I am. Like he's still good. I still like him, but it comes to a point where that whole thing and follow the buzzards. It's like kind of ran its course. Okay, give him something else to do.
And see, that's why this podcast is so great, because we don't always have to agree, and I don't agree. I think Bray Wyatt he's lost more matches than anyone else in the last 5 years who have stayed on the card.
Yep.
He's lost more matches than anyone else who have not been let go or sent home or sent back down to NXT. And he's lost matches against huge names. Roman Reigns, The Undertaker, like everyone that he's been in Daniel Bryan, everyone he's been in big storylines with and lost. Like they're big names, they're not nobodies. And I understand people are coming on here and they're saying, well, he needs to change his gimmick and this and that, and I can kind of see it, okay, but where I don't agree with it is they're doing with him what they always have done with him. I don't think he needs to change anything.
It's WWE.
I think WWE's writers need to figure out their direction with him, whether they're mad at him because of his affair with JoJo and now the fact he's getting a divorce, and so they're not putting him over. I don't know. Like, they're weird. They do stuff for stupid reasons, in my opinion. Like, someone forgot to do something, and so they get in trouble for, like, the dumbest reasons. You hear these stories
Right.
all the time.
Yeah.
I think if his job is to go out there and make Finn Balor look like $1 billion, Finn Balor can do that by himself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what Finn may need help with on the main roster is like the mind games and the mentality, like using your mind, and that's a lot of wrestling. And he was great at that in NXT, and people got into the whole demon thing. And then last year he was on the main roster for a cup of tea and got hurt, and he was out. And then they brought him back, and he hasn't been like a main guy.
Yep.
And I think Bray's great because Bray taps into a character that we haven't seen for a long time before he came around. And sure, it might get old from time to time, but like we haven't seen someone really tap into their character like that in a really, really long time. Like, that's, to me, and I'm not saying he could be like Stone Cold or The Undertaker,
Right. Yeah.
but the way he takes to his character, like Bret Hart was Bret Hart. He put on some pink stuff and walked out there. Shawn Michaels was very flamboyant, but like Bray Wyatt is tapping into this, and WWE tried this character, the same character. They tried this in the 80s and it failed. Bray Wyatt beforehand, he was Husky Harrison. He was garbage. Like, this guy busted his ass to be where he's at. I don't think we should take him lightly because the writers don't know what to do with him.
I think you're right. And taking him lightly isn't because he's not good. I feel like if they put him in the hands of Jimmy Jacobs, who works there,
Yep.
I think if they let Jimmy Jacobs take a hold of that whole writing team, I think they would make Bray Wyatt really good
To add
to
on
the
to
point
that,
to where we all wouldn't be like that.
where we're having like the characters and everything. This is a completely different topic because he's not on No Mercy pay-per-view tonight. But I love what they're doing with Dolph Ziggler, with everything that he's coming out. He's working the fucking heel promo, and he's coming out mocking D-Generation X,
Dude, I
mocking
think
Shawn
that's crazy.
Michaels.
I think that's crazy.
He mocked the Ultimate Warrior, and I believe he did it. I don't think it's like he did it disrespectfully.
No.
He
Did
did
get
it.
some heat for
He
that?
did it with permission, but Dana Warrior's widow, if you will, was mad. She was upset about it, and I get where she's coming from, but like at the same time, don't be mad at him.
Yeah.
Be mad at
That's
the
like
company
you being
itself.
mad at. That's like you being mad at me for making 15 boxes. Well, my boss told me to make 15 boxes, just like his boss told him to go out there and do the Warrior thing. Like, you can't be mad at him. You need to be mad at the people who are making those decisions.
Yep.
The same thing with Bray Wyatt. Don't be mad at Bray Wyatt or Wyndham or Husky or whatever you want to call him. Be mad at the people making the decisions. And that's like why we're sitting here talking about this. I'm the most quiet because I don't watch that stuff. And when I do, I fast forward till I see Kevin Owens or someone I really care about. I don't watch all that gimmicky bullshit because the writers haven't got it right. And the good writers that are there aren't getting the leeway they need to get.
No kidding.
Like Jimmy Jacobs.
Yes.
Like the head writer on SmackDown who was the guy that really propelled NXT to be what it was. And then all those guys like Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens and Finn Balor and all those guys got caught up.
Yeah.
And this guy's over here on SmackDown making SmackDown the best damn show on the network with basically like the scraps. And then they do this draft and they take all of the characters that this writer built. Like he brought out the best in all these characters. And they're like, oh, they're so good, and we're losing in ratings. We're going to send them to Raw now.
Exactly.
And I know this isn't our topic, but like this is what happens. Like
No, it's
Is that
fine.
Adam
That's what
we're
about.
talking about a Raw pay-per-view, and what happens? We all end up talking about SmackDown because Raw freaking sucks.
Well,
Yeah.
we agree
It's
we're
not
all gonna-
fun.
We agree we're all going to talk about it, but to kind of like segue from this, so we can kind of keep on track. I just want to talk about the Lesnar Strowman thing real quick. I want Strowman to win. I think he deserves the win, but let me tell you, I think they're going to keep the strap on Lesnar because,
Yeah.
and big names have talked about this. Triple H, certain guys that like Lesnar is an attraction. He's not even like a regular guy that shows up all the time. He's an attraction. There's a mystique about this. You put his name on the card, it's gonna
People are
sell.
gonna
It's
want-
gonna sell tickets.
He's
Whatever.
literally a
Now-
superstar.
To talk about Strowman, I hope they don't do what they did to Ryback. I'm not a Ryback fan at all, but
No.
you know they turned Ryback into a mid-card warrior, which
Mhm.
I hope they don't do that to Strowman because
Strowman has
they're
more
he's
potential.
getting all this momentum. He's in the main event status, and now if they make him lose to Lesnar, I mean that could possibly propel him back down into a mid-card warrior. I just hope that doesn't happen because he is a larger-than-life character. And I hate when they take larger than life guys and just make them a mid card warrior because they feel
He's
that they're not
believable,
like a whole
you know?
package. And I really believe that that's the top brass not wanting to trust somebody.
Mhm.
I mean, Stone Cold said this back in 2012 that there's a roster full of guys that maybe 3 or 4 are reaching for the brass ring and want to do everything that they can do.
That's right.
And Stone Cold was like back in my day during the Attitude Era, you had
A whole
every guy on the roster wanting that brass
Yeah,
ring
Yeah.
man.
and wanting to go after it and wanting to, but like
There's
that was
more
way
of a
back,
competition.
even like a 2012 interview he did
Yeah.
with JR and CM Punk
Yeah.
when they were promoting the video
Yeah.
game.
Yes.
Yeah.
My topics or whatever. I'm gonna talk about a few things. First off, Project Mayhem last night was Fight Club Pro's 8-year anniversary show, and like had been mentioned earlier, like they put on a great show. Chris Brooks retained his championship by beating Ita, and the Callous Hearts, Clint Margera, Jimmy Havoc. They defeated our guys, Scarlett and Graves. I'm not going to get into all of it because I don't want to talk about certain guys, but like SEMA was there. SEMA's a very big name. I know Damien can appreciate SEMA. He beat Mark Haskins, David Starr, Mark Davis, Carl Fletcher, and Jordan Devlin. And Jessica Havoc was there. She beat Kaylee Ray in what was a very good match from what I've been told. And then there was the main event with the Chris Brothers and Callahan taking on the men known as British Strong Style. So that was cool. One more thing I wanted to talk about. Well, actually two things, but the Troll Boys, ACH and All Ego Ethan Page.
Yes.
They defeated my guys, Anthony Henry and James Drake, the Workhorsemen, they became the Evolve Tag Team Championships champions. But then but then the very next day they lost those titles to Chris Dickinson and Jaka at the next at the next Evolve show. So the Troll Boys, what you gonna do? They're funny, but I'm a Workhorseman fan. I'm a huge fan of James Drake and Anthony Henry. Well, I've been in contact. We're gonna try and get them on the show really, really soon. But that's a big deal for them to lose the titles. And lastly, the last topic of the 10 Topic Showdown. This is like ginormous, huge news. I didn't even tell these guys I was going to talk about this. I'm talking about the lawsuit between WWN Live, the parent company of Evolve, and FloSlam.
I forgot all about
The lawsuit that indicates that when they were doing the dealings and talking about what kind of numbers WWN Live did for their live shows, apparently, or allegedly, I should say, WWN doctored their numbers and told the people at FloSlam or Flow Sports that they were doing better numbers than they actually were doing. And now we're looking at this group being like, we were told that they weren't going to show Evolve shows this weekend, and they didn't on FloSlam. And this lawsuit is a big deal, and I get where FloSlam's coming from, because you bought into this saying we'll do work with you, and then these guys aren't pulling the numbers you expect them to pull. It's been a year now. You're not getting what you're supposed to get out of it. It's time to do some investigating. And so now we have to deal with, not only are the rumors going around that Gabe Sapolsky's leaving to go to WWE full time, but it's kind of convenient, Gabriel, that you're leaving, and now the company's being sued. Like, it's very Paul Heyman like in your just saying, like,
and the ref takes
Paul Heyman's your idol, and you're leaving, and now this company's getting sued, and who knows what's going to happen to WWN, but that's a really big deal, because WWN is a huge, ginormous company in America. Evolve, I would say, is one of the top 2 or 3 independents, if you will, air quotes there, in the country. And for basically, like, everything is up in the air right now. Sure, they're still putting in shows. They're still putting on shows, but, like, everything's up in the air, because if this lawsuit happens, which they're trying to get $100 million.
Holy shit!
Yeah, brother.
That's
kind of a big deal. But I'm gonna move on. That is the 10 Topic Showdown. And like I said, card subject, but we always have a backup plan. Today's backup plan is Mr. TPI, Mr. IWA, the baddest man alive. He is Aaron Williams. Last week, he won the TPI. Today, he is on Skype with us. We talked to you before the show, before the TPI, and you said how hard it would be for you to get the wins and keep the title and win the tournament. Somehow you did just that. When it was all said and done, what was going on inside your head, and have you had time to reflect on it?
Well, first, thanks for having me on, guys. Good to talk to you again. I think when it was over, I think I just had that thought of it's over, almost like when you're working hard for something, and no matter what you're doing, if you're working for something, you finally get to that point of culmination where you achieve it, and you just take almost like a sigh of relief, like, yeah, okay, this part's done. Now it's, luckily for me, it's a huge deal, and it's a big deal for me personally. I got to share the finals with Jake Christ, who is a friend of mine, so it was very cool on an emotional level. I've got a chance to step back and kind of look at the tournament as itself, and the tournament is so good. There were so many fantastic matches and so much incredible talent, and to think that I was able to maintain the IWA World Championship all the way through it. So I had 4 title defenses, and then 1 sprung on me at the end of it, and so 5 title defenses in whole against top quality wrestlers who've been around the world and done amazing things. And I won arguably one of the top tournaments in wrestling, all in one foul swoop. So it's kind of overwhelming a little bit, but it's super awesome, and I can't wait to see what's next, because this was a great goal and a great achievement. But anybody who's smart, and anybody who looks to achieve goals, as soon as you achieve one, you have to set another one. So that's what the goal will be now, is to find the next goal to set and hit the ground running.
Hey, Aaron, this is Jordan. I don't know if you can recognize my voice, but I just want to say Quan Zu, by the way. My question I have for you is, do you think that you winning this tournament and being a part of this, do you think that it's going to skyrocket you into the other opportunities that you want for your career?
What I want it to be. It's what I want it to happen. That seems to be what has happened for a lot of other guys. I think about the 2008 TPI, because Drake Younger won it that year, and soon after he started just going everywhere and doing everything. Sami Callihan went to the finals that year, and that's really when he started to break out and do a lot of very cool stuff, and eventually be what he is. And both of those guys are doing quite well for themselves, and I expect the same. It's a big tournament, and I hope that once people start watching it and it starts getting out there and everything, because unless you were there live, you can't really understand all the awesome stuff that went on in it. But I hope that it comes across in DVD or live streaming form, whatever people get, and people start giving it and talking about it and everything like that. I really hope that people start to jump on the Aaron Williams bandwagon a little bit. I think that would be a great thing for my career, and definitely what anybody in pro wrestling wants. Is you want that internet backing, you want that internet love, because once you get that, it seems like there's no stopping you. So yeah, I hope that it does, and I'm expecting it to. It's just trying to see what happens next, I guess. I've only been reached out by a few people so far, but I'm hoping that, like I said, once it really gets out there, once people really start to watch it and get into it, that it'll open a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities.
And it's also not just the video itself, but the men who you got to work with, using, going around and telling other people about their opinions of working with you over the last weekend and what that meant, and hopefully that'll do its job as well.
Yeah, definitely. I got to work with Eric Hannon, which I've got to work with before, and we had a solid match, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I just realized at the TPI that he actually helps train people with the Wrestling Academy, and I believe it's in Milwaukee, with Ken Anderson and Davari, and I wasn't aware that and Molly Holly as well, and I wasn't aware that he was so involved with that, but I found that out today, and over that weekend. I'm sorry, but yeah. So I hope that he'll spread the word a little bit, and then of course David Starr, I got to wrestle, and I've been in the ring plenty of times with him. But this one was kind of a little different than what we had before, because it was one-on-one for one, and since the last time we'd wrestled one-on-one, both he and I have done different things in our career. We've learned more stuff. We've been different places and everything like that, and I think that really brought something special to the match. It was the first time anybody ever threw money at me from the ring side, so that was pretty awesome. So that one's real one I'm real proud of, and I'm really looking forward to it. I actually got to watch it the other day because they sent me some of the footage from the weekend, which I watched not just my stuff. I watched some of the other matches, and man, just there's so much good in the TPI that like. It should be like some people compared it like to the 2004 TPI, which was the one Styles one, which was I think the finals were AJ, Samoa Joe, and Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, however you want to say it. So you can only imagine probably how that was if you didn't see it. But they're comparing this year's to that year, and I think it deserves to have that comparison because every match on it was really, really solid. Guys brought out stuff you didn't think they had. Then guys that you knew could go just did what they do, and it was such a cool thing. Got to wrestle Eddie Kingston. That one went in a way that I don't think anybody expected it to, including myself. And then the finals were, like I said, I got to be with my friend Jay Christ and Jonathan Gresham, and it was quite an experience. So hopefully those guys can I mean, if the need comes, I would definitely hope that they would be more than willing to be like, yeah, Aaron Williams is the man. He knows what's up. He can go. But even if not, what would really be amazing is the fans who watch the show and see it and be like, okay, well this guy obviously belongs on this level with these other guys, and I think that I certainly hope that not only me but some other guys from the TPI get some recognition for their contributions to it. So it's an exciting little time. It's an exciting thing. So yeah, like I think it's good for Ohio, really. Dave Christ won Best of the Best. Aaron Williams won TPI. Dave and Jake got a contract. Zachary Wentz is overseas right now. Like there's a lot of great things from our home state. So I'm it's a good time to be an Ohio wrestling fan.
Yes. Hey Aaron, it's Austin. Congratulations
What's
again,
up, brother?
Brother.
Thank you.
I just I wanted to ask you, now that you've gained a lot of headway, and I know we've talked before where you just want to be a guy right now that when you're on a card, you want fans to be like, well, shit, if he's gonna be on the card, I gotta go out and see that. Which I think you're getting to that level, and I think that you have really good roots here in the Midwest, East Coast part of the wrestling. It's kind of two questions fold. Is there any kind of international wrestling on your radar? And at this point in your career, like who's like your biggest influence that you call up on a Sunday or something like, hey, can I get some advice? Is there anybody that you're talking to right now that really has helped guiding you?
Honestly, those are two really good questions. I would love to go international. I think that is like my goal. However, right now I don't really have a lot of contacts to do that. So I'm hoping that the TPI can kind of open that door for me a little bit. Like I think there's a little bit of a connection with a company. I think it's DTU or D. In Mexico with Rockstar, which I'm hoping that I can jump on board that. I'd love to get an opportunity at WXU, which I know a few guys from up there who possibly could make something like that happen. My overall goal is to get to Japan. I'd love to go to the UK, which something actually that does remind me. Somebody mentioned something to me about the UK the other day, which I may take advantage of. So yeah, I don't think anything's like seriously in discussion yet, but obviously that's something that's on my radar and something that I really, really want. And that's, like I said, that is one of the main goals that I have right now. So that's definitely true. As far as like people like influencing me and people I just like call on right now, like I actually in my whole career I've never really had somebody like that, like it would just kind of like happen. Like I was more of a sponge. I would just listen when people spoke, as opposed to like going out of my way to talk to people. I think some of the influences I've gotten has been from like some veteran guys, like Al Snow has been a bit of a mentor to me, I guess, and Ian Rotten has been there to just give me little blurbs of information about what I can do to make something better or make something mean a little more. I always try to ask guys who are on a level right now that I want to be, like whenever I'm in a locker room with Shane Strickland or David Starr or anything like that, I always try and talk to them and get something out of them that I can utilize to make myself better. So I don't know if I really have anybody other than, like, honestly, like just my average friends, like people who are outside of the business of wrestling. I'll ask them, like, hey, like, do you watch any wrestling at all? And if they say yes, I'll be like, well, who do you like? What do you like about them? Like, well, what is it that makes you like want to buy their T-shirt or want to make sure that you see their match or this, that, and whatever? Because I kind of look at it like if they are, as a general person or a general fan, see this person and that person can draw them in some way to make them a fan of wrestling in general, then that's the kind of what wrestler I want to be. I want to be a wrestler that makes fans look at wrestling as a whole and be like, okay, well, that's something I want to be involved in. I want to make not just myself better, but I want to make wrestling better if I can.
That's awesome, man. I think what you have been able to do is show people that if you're like, I know you and I've been around you for a few years and I've seen you and I believe that you're someone who needs to be all over. A lot of people around you have been doing that lately, so it's easy for you to get discouraged and to quit or to try and find an easier road, but you don't do that. You continue to bust your butt, to get better, to add different dynamics to your game and to the mentality of the game. And for me as a fan, and you know this, some of those guys that you wrestled during the Ted Petty Invitational, I'm really cool with some of those guys, and I'm a really big fan of some of those guys. And I think I speak for everybody here when I say this. We all wanted you to win because we all want you to get bigger, and a lot of those guys are blowing up, and we believe that you deserve the right to blow up. So to see you win, I think that hit us all where it counted, and we're very happy that it happened. And now that it has happened, hopefully it catapults you to bigger and better things.
Well, thank you very much, man. Honestly, like that really means the world to me. Like, cause like I said, dude, like all those guys that were in that tournament, I think there was like a few that nobody's really heard of. Like I did a little bit of stuff in CZW, so I have a inkling of a little bit of a name. Obviously, I have Rockstar Pro and everything like that. But to the entire independent wrestling world, Rockstar Pro is just now starting to really make an impact, which is awesome. But there was like me and like Larry D and Mance Warner and like Zodiac, and all these are guys that, like, the independent wrestling world, none of it, they don't know any of us really. They know who David J. Christ are. They know who Shane Strickland is. They know who David Starr is. They know who Eddie Kingston is. They know who Homicide is. They know who Sue Young is. I could go on and on. So, like, for all of us even to be in the tournament and to be put against these guys was awesome. But yeah, like I think we all tried to take advantage of it and make it as meaningful for everybody as it possibly was, as did those guys who have been somewhere and done things and already do have a name. Like, they didn't come in and just like mail it in. They came in and they worked hard, and it was a big thing for all of us. And I really do hope that it does give me the opportunity. I hope I can take advantage of this momentum and make something happen with it, because I love this business. I've spent my entire adult life trying to get somewhere and trying to put food on my table as a professional wrestler. So I think that this is probably the best opportunity I've had to really make momentum happen and really make something good happen for me. So I really hope that that I can take full advantage of it and do whatever needs to be done. I'll probably be calling people within the next week and being like, okay, well, I know you did something with this, so please tell me how I do something with this, because the last couple of winners, let's see, Chris Hero obviously needs nothing to make him skyrocket, because he was already skyrocketing in 2016. So he was already everywhere. It was a feather in the cap of the Ted Petty to have a person like Chris Hero win it. The year before that, it was Congo Kong, who he was already starting to make a name for himself and everything like that. I think the last person that really took advantage of it, like I said, was Drake Younger. And at that point in time, 2008, it was a different world. It was a different setup. It was 9 years ago, so it was a whole different aspect of professional wrestling. Now, professional wrestling more goes on Twitter and GIFs than it does on who trained you and how much experience do you have and how skilled are you. There are guys that literally get booked because there was this one cool GIF that happened. They could literally have no idea what they're doing inside the ring, or have no character at all. But they did this one GIF and it was super cool, so they get bookings off of it. I mean, that is the professional wrestling world we live in right now, which is, it is what it is. But I hope that I can do something to make something happen for myself, because I've been told for years how good I am, so much so that it almost is discouraging. Like you said, like you see all these other guys doing stuff and pushing further and getting farther, and I sometimes do step back in the corner of the room, just like, what am I doing wrong? How am I not getting this? I'm as good as these guys, but I can't seem to get the momentum that they are getting. Well, the TPI is the momentum I think I need, and hopefully I can just grab that by the throat and just strangle the life out of it. So.
All right. Well, Damien has a question for you.
Hey, brother, it's not really a question. It's just more of a fact, and just the fact that I've been saying it for years. I've talked to you about it multiple times. Hashtag Planet Williams Takeover. I really hope and pray that this is the beginning of a new chapter where you're just blowing up everywhere, because I've been saying for years that you've been just as good as anybody else out there. One of the best in my opinions. Not many people know that I've actually been watching you for 10 years now, which is crazy. I actually seen you.
That is crazy.
I actually seen you before I seen Dave and Jake, which was it's awesome. I just hashtag Planet Williams Takeover, Mr. IWA. It's like, you're the effing man.
Thanks, brother. Man, you probably remember my beautiful long hair, don't you?
I do, man. I do.
Bring that back, Aaron.
Little hair club for men always fixes everything.
Man, you've come a
No,
long
my
way,
bad. It's a
brother.
choice. Thank you, man. Thank you very much. I mean,
Hashtag bald is sexy.
Bald is sexy. You're right about that. But yeah, it's crazy to think about that, man. Like you yourself have been watching me for 10 years. That is insanity. Like, sometimes I sit back and I think if I'm in a locker room, because like I said, the wrestling business has changed so much, and it's like so crazy how it has changed. Years, like when I came in, like the goal was to have as many matches as you possibly could, and to meet as many people as you possibly could. And after like years and years and years, you might get an opportunity to go overseas, or you might get an opportunity to get a tryout or whatever. At least that's how it was taught to me to some extent. And then fast forward 15 years or so, probably about 13 years or so, a young man by the name of Zachary Wentz walks into Rockstar Pro Wrestling, and he starts doing his thing, and he starts wrestling guys like David J. and me and Alex and Dustin and all these guys. Fast forward a year and a half, and he's in England for the first time, and I still am holding a passport in my hand that has no stamps on it, because the business has just changed so much. It's so wild to think that 10 years ago you were watching me become something that I still had a long time to become, but times have changed so much that Zachary Wentz, Desmond Xavier, all these younger guys who have come in, they come in and within 6 months they know who they are. Within 6 months, they know exactly what they do. They know what they're good at. They know what they're bad at. And they just take off because they know all these things. Where it takes, Dave and Jay and I all started around the same time, and it took us all years to find out who we were as performers and everything like that. And as soon as Jake figured it out, and as soon as Dave figured it out, they just started climbing. Like, as soon as Jake became the artist, it was like the world changed for him, which is so awesome, and I'm so happy for them. But I definitely believe it's time for the world to start knowing who I am, and I'm excited for this period of time in my career. And no matter what, I think the win in the TPI will change some things for me, even if it's just. Which it's not, but actually, I'm not even going to go there, because I'm not even going to look at it as a downside at all. I'm not going to look at it as an as if or a what if it doesn't or anything like that. I'm just going to say that hopefully in a year from now, we'll be having another conversation, and you'll be like, man, isn't it crazy how you won the TPI and then all this happened?
Absolutely, man.
Like, yeah,
And
it's awesome.
And that would be incredible, and I think that's from all 5 of us guys. Like, that would be incredible, because we want to see you. As much as we like seeing these other guys succeed, like you and I spoke last time, once they get there and I see it happening, I'm looking back at who's left and like, okay, it's time to get them guys up now. Let's get those guys over there. Let's get their names out there. And I think all of us are looking at you right now like, okay, Aaron, it's time, buddy. Like, it's time for you to be in Mexico. It's time for you to be in England. Like, go make your name, and we're waiting for that to happen. And it's not that we don't know you're trying, because obviously we know you're trying. We said the same thing about Dave and Jake, and now they've done it, and now we're like, oh, okay, we want that for you. And as fans, like, and to us, we're not just like guys who occasionally get to see you. To the 5 of us, we're in this with you. In our heads, like, we are in this with you, and we want to see you succeed. And when you do succeed, because we all feel that you will, that for us is going to mean so much more than just Jimmy from down the block making it. Because to us, this is like Aaron Williams is family. And when Aaron Williams achieves his dreams, that makes us happy. And we all want that.
Yes, we do.
Dude, absolutely, man. Like, I definitely agree with you, and I'm so grateful for that. Like, you guys who've been, obviously Damien's been a fan for 10 years. He's watched me come into myself and everything like that. He's kind of grown up with me to an extent. And you guys have been around Rockstar for as long as you have. You've seen so many different aspects of who I am as a performer and everything like that. And the guys from the road home from wrestling, the podcast, they've driven with me to shows. They've seen me falling asleep in cars because I've had like 2 hours of sleep, and I'm going from one thing to the next thing just because I'm doing the grind just like everybody else is, and I'm just trying to make a name. That's what it's all about, is making a name, because once you make your name, that's pretty much it. That's what you got.
Right.
And man, it means so much to have you guys backing me up and backing all of us up, like myself and Dustin and Alex and Zach and Dez. Like, it's legitimately, Desmond Xavier is an amazing example of what the wrestling fandom in Ohio can do for a person, to me, because Desmond came from nowhere pretty much. He came from a little place in Middletown that he was, should have never even been in. He walked into Rockstar Pro Wrestling. He wrestled Dustin Ray's one night. Then he wrestled Jake and I one night, and then it just kept going and kept going. He wrestled Dave, and then he kept going and kept going. And then a year later, maybe a little more than a year later, maybe it was like a year and a half or something, he's on national TV because he came to Dayton, Ohio, and people got behind him, and then that got him somewhere else, and then that got him somewhere else, and now he's on national TV, and everybody sees him every week. And he won the Super X Cup, and he's probably going to be the next X Division champion. And no matter what you think about TNA or Global or Impact or whatever the freak it's called, I don't even know. One thing one thing that nobody can deny is how influential the X Division has been to the industry. The X Division gave us Loki, it gave us AJ Styles, it gave Jerry Lynn a new rejuvenation of his career. It's given us so many guys that are just fantastic that made their name in the X Division, and to see Dez coming in there and knowing that's probably the light at the end of that tunnel for him is so cool. Just because he came in through us, and you guys made it happen for him, and in a lot of ways you made it happen for Dave and Jay, and hopefully you guys continue to help me get there, because we are a family. We're all close. We're all a close-knit little group.
Yep.
It's almost ECW-esque. Like every ECW guy that has come through Rockstar Pro, they always say it feels like ECW, and that's because it is. Because when the ECW guys would go on, even years later, I don't know, what is it? It's probably been like 18 years since ECW closed its doors, but if you still see an ECW guy on a show, you're going to hear ECW chants, because that fandom was so impactful. And I feel like Dayton, Ohio, Rockstar Pro Wrestling is the same deal. I feel like if there were a conglomerate of you guys at a TNA show, if they ever come to Ohio, when Desmond Xavier comes out or Dave and Jay come out, there's going to be a Rockstar Pro chant, because it's become so personal. It's become so much of a family thing for all of us. So it's awesome, man. It really is.
Absolutely.
Before we let you go, we would first like to say thanks for coming on. We really, 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 really appreciate it.
We love you, dude.
No problem, man. I love you guys. I'm so grateful for what you guys are doing, what you do, and
Kwanzaa, brother.
I just want to say, yeah.
Kwanzaa, bro. Yeah.
It's all in the
John
reflexes.
Moxley, yeah.
Go ahead and tell us where we can find you on social media and plug those sponsors, buddy.
All right, well, okay, let me take a deep breath. So I'm Aaron Williams on Facebook. That's pretty simple. I'm a beautiful bald man. It's there. Holding an IWA title. I am Planet Williams 1 on Twitter. I am Planet Williams on Instagram. All that's pretty simple. If you go to Pro Wrestling Tees, there's a couple of T-shirts on there that if you want to, help me out and support me a little bit, you can get a Baddest Man Alive T-shirt. Just type in Aaron Williams in the search, and a couple of them pop up. I've been wanting to get some more ones on there, but I keep having troubles with the vectors and everything like that. And every time I send them one, they're like, "Hey, it's got to be this." I'm like, "But it is that." Anyway, you can also if you a lot of people like Strong Style. A lot of people see the collar and elbow stuff I wear and everything like that. Collar and Elbow is a company that sponsors me. You can go to collarandelbow.com. It's pro wrestling attire. You type in the promo code Baddest. It gives me money off whatever you buy. So please do that. It's collarandelbowbrand.com. Let's see, what else is there? I know there's more. Outbreak Nutrition supports the Night Riders, so you can go to Outbreak Nutrition, which is a fantastic supplement company. I use the stuff and it's great. And type in the promo code Riders, RYDERZ, and you can get some stuff off there and everything like that. I think that's pretty much all the promo stuff I have. You can catch me every week at Rockstar Pro. You can catch me every week at IWA Mid-South. Other than that, I'll be at PCW in Cleveland, tagging up with Nate Wings to win some tag titles. That'll be fun. I'm not looking at my calendar right now, so I think that's all I got.
Okay, before we let you go, in just a moment, we have to have this said. When you make that big announcement that you're going overseas or to a different country, or when you decide to sign pen to paper, because eventually it's going to happen, we need you back on here to break that announcement for us on the air.
Well, we will definitely make something happen, my friend. Yeah, dude, because it's hopefully it will be a conversation we have soon.
All right, brother.
That's all I can
Thanks.
say about it.
Thanks again. We appreciate it, dude. For real, from our hearts. We appreciate you always being just a call away, and we appreciate everything you do for us.
Thanks, Aaron. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Peace.
Thank
See
you,
ya.
guys. You have a wonderful day, Kwanzaa, and just keep being awesome. All right.
See you, brother.
See ya, man.
So-
Thank you, Aaron Williams, for doing everything you do for us. We really, 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 really appreciate it. By now, if you guys haven't figured it out in this podcast, AR Fox hasn't been able to be reached. And he said when last spoke to him that we will have to reschedule. So he, literally at this moment, is probably beating the dog crap out of Joey Janela. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We will have him on another episode. But in the clutch comes Mr. IWA, Mr. TPI.
Woo!
Woo! The baddest ball guy alive.
Cincinnati Shogun.
Ball dudes.
Ball dudes!
Ball dudes.
Love you, dude.
So we're gonna move on to our little debate topic, and this debate topic has been talked about between the five of us for the last 3 to 4 weeks, and so we're gonna talk about this. Does wrestling overseas matter more than wrestling in your home country? If so, why? The five of us are about to debate on it, so I'm going to start with the man who came up with this, Jordan.
Personally, the way I look at it is this. In the 80s, not so much. Wrestling in the World Wrestling Federation was where it was at. That's where you wanted to be. In came the 90s, and that's when All Japan Pro Wrestling really started to get big. That's when Lucha Libre started to get big, where imports from Mexico like Rey Mysterio and Psychosis and Conan and Juventud Guerrero went to ECW. People wanted to go to Japan, though, to face guys like Mitsuharu Misawa, Kenta Kobashi, and so on and so forth. That whole group of guys that really made Japan wrestling what it is today. Wrestlers in the independent circuit in the early 2000s, like Bryan Danielson, Samoa Joe, Colt Cabana, CM Punk, Ace Steel, Austin Aries, Roderick Strong, guys like that, that's where they wanted to be. They wanted to be overseas. That's where they strived to go. I mean, they wanted to be the main event of WrestleMania. They wanted that moment. But if you look back at interviews from stuff, that's where they wanted. And I think that carries over today. We just got off the Skype interview with Aaron Williams, and that's where he wants to be. He wants to be in different countries. He wants to be in Mexico and Japan and Germany. He wants to branch out. I think what it is wrestling in your home country, whether it could be, if you're from Ireland or Germany or England or Japan, that's great. Those guys want to come to America. Just like a lot of American professional wrestlers on the independent circuit, they want to go to Japan. They want to go to those different places. Someone like Zachary Wentz and Sammy Callahan and Jake and Dave Christ, all from Ohio. They love Ohio. That's their home. They want to go overseas. They want to wrestle. They want to wrestle on the main stage everywhere, not just their home. And I think right now, as I start this out, that's where I stand with it. I mean, I want to hear your guys' opinions.
Well, I think it depends on where you're from. Obviously, a lot of guys from the United States they're gonna say, "Oh, it means more to them than guys from Mexico," and guys from Japan and Germany. Same thing with them. It's kind of like a pride thing. But I'm glad you brought up lucha libre because in Mexico, lucha libre started getting really big in around the 1930s actually, and the first masked luchador was actually a Russian guy. He was I cannot remember his name to save the life, but it goes on and on from guys like El Santo, Mil Mascaras, and all these guys, and a lot of the luchadors from Mexico were not Hispanic at all when masked wrestling started, and then in came a lot of the Hispanics, and then you got guys like Chris Jericho. When he first started, it was in Canada and then Mexico and then Japan, and he didn't have his first his first match in America until ECW. That was his very first match in the United States, and a lot of the fans from Lucha Libre, it's like that's their thing. It's one of the biggest sports that Hispanics have.
Same thing. It's like the NFL. Same thing with Japan. Like their football is wrestling.
So it's like those guys or those people there could say that wrestling period means more to them, but same thing with Japan. That they all have those couple guys that started it all for them. You know, that just.
So do you think they want to wrestle in their country more? Or do you think they want to come to the United States?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Well, here's how I see it. Take any big name, and I can name a lot, before they hit it huge, TV, WWE, all that. A lot of those guys made overseas tour, most of them to Japan. Just a name drop, Hogan, wrestled international. Chris Benoit, Pegasus Kid, wrestled overseas. Jericho, wrestled internationally. I mean, we can name drop all day. I think it's a necessity that you do wrestle overseas to get your name out there, and it's more of a bargaining chip to like when you go get booked somewhere. Like, do we want to book this guy that hasn't gone anywhere? We want to book this guy where we can bill it like, man, Mr. International Superstar, wrestle at XWA or WXW or whatever. You know what I mean? Like. XW, I don't even know if that's a promotion. I meant to say WXW. But anyways, no, but you get what I'm saying. NJPW, all that shit. But I just think it's a necessity that you do wrestle overseas. And guys that wrestle overseas that come to America, they already have that on their docket. They already have that on there, and they're looking to get the United States on their billing, so when they go back, they can do the same thing.
I think with a lot of wrestlers, though, it means more to them to make it big where they're from. Like, obviously, like most of them want to go overseas and everything, but they want to make it big where they're from. You know?
Makes sense.
That I agree on. Basically, going from the United States to either Japan to whatever company is in Japan, because Japan is so many. But then you also have England, you have Ireland, you have even Australia. You have so many countries over there that is doing so many great things, and you also have Mexico, Canada, everything. But I'm going to steal what Tama Tonga said from the G1 Climax. Everything that in Japan they have the G1 Climax every year. You see the same guys. To some respect, if you watch that constantly and you're there constantly, you want, like everybody said, you get burnt out. The G1, you have the same guys. You have Naito, you have Okada, same guys in there. Bring that to the States, like the full G1. Just bring it to the States. Have everybody from have everybody from every state, any independent company coming from either the United States up from Canada to Mexico. Have it like you did. And they had that G1 special in LA. Have it in LA. bring so much talent from across the board. Like our guest we had, have Aaron Williams coming to the G1 Climax.
Yes.
Have like fucking Jake and Dave Chris coming to G1 Climax. Sammy Callahan. Fucking anybody that you can get. Matt Riddle. Anybody that is from the States want that opportunity, but sometimes can't get that opportunity.
So you feel like certain people, you know, like people from different countries want to come to the U.S. and people from the U.S. want to go to different countries. So either way, it just depends on how they feel about their
Pretty
career.
much, but some companies want to bring their product over to the States too and keep it in the States. Like some people like Aaron, like not just Aaron, but other people don't get that opportunity or anything to be in the States or go to overseas or everything like that because they don't have. Some of them have more families they need to take care of, so they don't get that opportunity to travel. So bring it here and give them that opportunity and see how it works out to go to the States.
Bottom line is, guys want to go other places. The biggest reason for that to happen is because they want to get that contract. Mm-hmm. You don't get that contract by sitting at home and sitting on your hands. Dude isn't leaving to go, like a guy I know, a guy we all know. He's not leaving to go to Germany to sit in Germany for 3 weeks just to sit in Germany for 3 weeks. Sure, it's great. He loves it. It's awesome. But he's hoping that what he learns there, what that experience is about, will lead to him eventually getting a contract. Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to. And we talk to guys, everyone wants to be everywhere. It comes down to the contract. Does it matter more whether you're always in your home country? I think at some point everyone wants to be here because all the biggest companies are here. You look at a company like Progress, huge company, great, awesome company in Europe, but those wrestlers who wrestle for Progress want to be here because of the market here. And sure, wrestling there is great, but like Impact is here. You can call it what you want. I don't care what you call it. They have a TV deal. People keep talking about Impact Wrestling. They have a TV deal. So like Aaron was just saying, it doesn't matter. Those guys are on TV. You put those guys on TV. That is a big deal. I don't care if you call it Fart Championship Wrestling. They're on television weekly. That is a big deal. We talked about CCK because like I think CCK and Travis Banks and like those guys are some of the best talents in the world, and I have to question why in the mother F are they not here? Those guys are the business. Yes. I mean, I look at what's in Europe and what's in Germany because I see our guys going there, and initially I checked out WXW because of Star, and then I saw all these other guys. I saw Walter, and I saw Bad Bones, and I saw Marius Alani. And his talent is just is crazy. And you look at what British Strong Style is doing, and in this debate, something you have to accept is the business is changing. Last night, our guys, Dayton, Ohio, the Callahan Death Machine, the Chris Brothers, Ohio is for Killers. Those guys beat the dog shit out of 3 dudes that have WWE contracts. Yeah. 3 guys from Ohio beat the dog shit out of 3 guys that have contracts. But here's another thing, folks, and no one's brought this up, and I'm surprised no one's brought this up. You had 2 dudes signed. They have contractual obligations to Impact Wrestling. Yep. Beat up and got beat up by 3 guys who have WWE contracts. We live in a fucking crazy world.
What's really crazy about that is over time it's changed so much because between like the 80s to even still now, New Japan Pro Wrestling and WWE, anywhere in Japan and WWE is where everyone wanted to go. Yep. But now it's changed so much. You got guys wanting to stay in Germany, wanting to go to England and Mexico.
It's the modern day territories.
It's crazy.
Back in the day, there was territories.
It's like the
Vince McMahon squashed that. And now we have new territories.
Memphis Wrestling, the NWA. It's now, but modern.
Matt Riddle
It's
wants to
amazing.
travel the world, but he also wants to stay on the independent
Yeah.
scene.
Right.
Why? Because right now we're in the boom.
The
Yeah.
independent scene right now is just unbelievable with talent, companies, and I'm proud to be a fucking indie mark. So
The bottom line is it? I think it's important for the simple fact, if you're not from America, then you have to come here eventually to get signed. There's very, very few people who don't come here eventually and actually get that contract. Like the guy that sticks out to me is Braun Strowman. He was never an indie guy, and now tonight he's in WWE facing Brock Lesnar. That doesn't happen a lot, and I think like the biggest thing is, and I know we talk about Europe a lot, we talk about Japan a lot. The biggest thing is, outside of the whole contract, is the fact that guys want to be able to see the country. So, like, I know Dave and Jake Chris, before there was ever a contract, they took their chances and they went and they trained in different places across the world. And people don't just do it to get a contract, so don't take what I said lightly. They do it for experiences. I have spoken to different wrestlers who take those trips to different places. And look, guys, don't sit around and wait. Like, this is the best advice I had ever heard a wrestler get and take. A really cool dude that we know, he took the advice from another wrestler who said, look, if you're not getting the bookings in Europe and you're not getting the bookings in Germany, take your own money and get on a plane and go over there and make them eventually want to pay you. And the guy I'm talking about, he did that. He took his own money and he went over to Germany and he stayed there for over a month. And people in the business, men and women who wrestle on the same shows as him, were talking crap about him. Like, oh, he paid to have himself flown over to Germany to wrestle for free. Well, guess what? Now the dude's been there like 9 times and they've paid for those trips because he took the initiative. And wrestlers need to do that. They need to take the initiative. There's guys right now that are in Japan because they took the Royce Isaacs. He used to be on TV Weekly. Royce Isaacs was on a show. It was in Las Vegas. Him and Alex Chamberlain. Very good show. It just popped in my head. But Royce Isaacs is a guy from Denver, Colorado. He was a wrestler that probably no one sitting at this table aside from me has ever heard of. But guess what? He took his own money out of his own pocket and he went to Japan. And now he gets to go wrestle for DDT every month because he took it on his own dime. And so, yeah, I just kind of took this thing over and I apologize, but
That's what's so great about wrestling, though,
Yes.
man. Because people want to say it's like fake, but you have to put the work in. You have to take risks.
Just as much as any
To
athlete
succeed,
in
you
the
know?
NFL or the MLB.
Well, you know,
like-
people say it's fake, but like the TV shows you watch are fake, the movies you watch are
Right.
fake.
That's,
How many things
Right.
do you watch on TV that are fake and you like, you know what I mean? But that's a whole other conversation.
right. But I just mean
Right.
it's like that's what's great about wrestling. If people complain about not getting somewhere, and then you got a guy like Rob said, you know, takes his own money, it's like you have to be willing
To
to
make
make
that jump.
risks and jump into action when
And-
it's needed.
like this guy just popped in my head, or actually 2 guys. You look at Leo Rush, who has not been in this business 4 years. He's got a WWE contract. And you look at a guy like Donovan Dijak.
Yep.
Leo Rush is a young man who hasn't been in business 4 years and got a contract. Donovan Dijak is an older gentleman to jump into business at his age, entering his 30s, and now he has a contract. But what did
like
both of them
DDP.
do? They attacked the game. They came in and they attacked it, and they got overseas very, very quickly. They got over there. They made a name over there. They came over here because I think to really answer our question is, why do you want to get over there if you're from America? It's because once you get over there, other companies from America, they think, oh, well, this company booked him to go all the way on the other side of the world, so they must be
They
worth
think this
us
guy's
booking
legit.
them 2 states away. You know what I mean? Like the 5 of us, have seen guys go from being 90 milers to getting booked in California, in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Florida, all because they jumped up and decided to take their destiny into their own hands. And I think we see it a lot. I know we see it a lot. There's wrestlers on Facebook, on Twitter, like, hey guys, like Anthony Henry's done this countless times. JT Dunn does it. Hey guys, I got an empty car. I'm driving 2 states away. There's not a chance. There's a very small chance that you guys will get on this event, but it's a chance. You shake some hands, you meet some people. That's the same thing with going overseas. Take the jump, and even if you don't get that contract, you might shake hands with someone who brings you back over and over and over again. And it's kind of in the same way. Well, people said that JT Dunn only got the PWG because Chris Hero. Okay, maybe, but if JT Dunn was a total piece of shit that couldn't wrestle, Chris Hero wasn't getting him there anyways. JT Dunn got the PWG because he could actually wrestle. Sure, Chris Hero's influence might have helped, but he's not getting there if he can't wrestle. The same way that JT Dunn got all the way to Germany, and he took a chance and he went over there. And guess what, folks? He did it without Chris Hero one time.
Hero opened the door for JT, but JT walked through it.
JT kicked it down, yeah. He
So overall, it means a lot to travel.
Yep.
It means a lot to go overseas. And any wrestlers from the United States or any wrestlers from another country, they should travel. It means more to travel than to just stay in your home country.
That's correct. And we
I
all
think
agree.
you can have success in your home country, but if you want to get to the bigger shows and get more bookings, then you have to take a chance.
Yep.
Whether that's a company taking a chance on you or you reaching into your wallet and doing it yourself, you have to take that chance. Our guys right now, Dayton, Ohio, our boys, and another guy that we all like, David Starr. We got guys in Europe right now. We got guys in Mexico right now. Like this, Desmond Xavier, Zachary Wentz, Trey Miguel, Myron Reed, David J. Chris, Sammy Callahan, David Starr. All guys who we consider family. Guess what? They are all outside of the United States right now killing it. And why? Because they or other people took chances on them. So, of course, it should happen.
Yep.
This has been a very emotional and eccentric and honest podcast by myself and four of my greatest friends and greatest adversaries when it comes to the debates. But, as always, folks, we try to deliver something to you that's very real. We don't sit down for 10 hours and plan this. We show up, we throw out some topics, and we just let it out because we love the wrestling business.
Yep.
Next week, we were talking about international stars. We're talking about people who take a chance. Let me tell you something. Next week, the reason this woman is on our show is because she wants to come to America.
Yes.
Session Moth Martina from Ireland. She's wrestled in Germany. She's wrestled in all of Europe. She wants to come to America. So she's coming on our show, our American podcast. And we may be very small, but she's coming here to our show to talk to us because she wants somebody to help get her to America.
Let's do it, boys.
And we're damn sure going to give it our all because that is what this podcast is about, because we are the Wrestling Entourage, and when it comes down to it, folks, we are just a bunch
of
Fucking
marks.